We head to Santa Clara, California, where Jimmy, Jesus Christ, that guy's handsome, was dropping thirst traps all game, while no one from Minnesota will be kissing the cook in 2020.
All right, Jimmy G takes a step and fakes it to Monster. He throws it over the middle, too. It's 84 with a touchdown. The San Francisco 49ers strike first. They're up 7-0 against the Vikings.
49ers 27, Minnesota 10. We're in Landover, Maryland, where Lamar Samuel L. Jackson said, "I'm tired of these mother effing linebackers in this mother effing backfield." Marcus Mariota in the game, Tannehill out. He will go in motion. It's a direct snap to Derrick Henry. Jump pass. Corey Davis back in the end zone. Touchdown. Titans. Upset alert 28. Ravens 12. Now on to Arrowhead, where Travis Kelce Chevrolet was finding huge savings on his trips to the end zone, while Will Fuller House was wondering if evening TV will be better from his couch next weekend. Patrick Mahomes in the gun from the 5. He's got pressure in the backfield. He avoids Watt. He rolls right. He finds Kelce going to the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas City. Chiefs, a monster comeback. 51. Texans, 31. Lastly, we go to Lambeau Field, where Russell Wilson was cast away, secluded on an offense with no running backs, while Aaron Burr Rodgers was firing bullets fierce enough to kill a Hamilton and put an Adams in office.
3rd and 7 with 2 seconds left. Aaron Rodgers takes a quick snap. He looks left. He lobs it up to Devontae Adams. Touchdown. It is lit at Lambeau as Devontae Adams refuses to take a Lambeau leap. Instead, he listens for the crowd. 7-0. Packers are leading the Seahawks.
Packers win and cover 28-23 over Seattle. Welcome to the Hopeless Fan Podcast. No Scotty tonight, but it's Shelby. And first of all, it is Wednesday, January 15th. And let me introduce my friend, my good friend, with a little bit of the MVP frontrunner. Anybody's got something to say about it, they can come see me. I'm right here in Beemore, outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big Truss. Woo-woo. Zach, in the flesh. Yes, sir. Big Truss. How you feeling, man?
Very much big embarrassed, Zach. ZAQ, big embarrass. That is what I am, and we deserve it. Lamar Jackson, Shelby, turn off the alerts
hand
on
up,
your phone.
Hand up. I knew it before I knew it.
Hand up, that's on you. Hand up, it's on me for believing that we could win a playoff game. It's just called Big Choke, CHOQUE. Lamar Jackson does not deserve the MVP for that.
Wow,
performance.
really?
In my opinion, it goes to either Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes. I am big disappoint. Whatever kind of big abbreviation or cut off the last 3 or 4 words of whatever word you want. The Ravens are... hey, let me just say this. Marlon Humphrey said it best. They choked.
Yeah, is it more the Titans, being a Cinderella team, or is it Ravens choking? And try to not be biased.
It's about 60-40. Ravens choking 40%. They just hit their they hit their heat.
Because I think we do this when teams fail to meet expectations. We kind of just disregard a team that made a big upset.
No.
Like that game played into the Titans' hand.
I don't want to take anything away from Tennessee. Great coaching. Playing to your strengths, but at the same time, we are who they thought they were. All they were doing was running the ball. If we could have stopped the run game, we would have won easily. But we didn't, and they won because Derrick Henry ran all over us. Tannehill did his game-managing thing that he does. That's the game.
Yeah, and that's what the biggest surprise to me was because if you remember the very first play of the game for the Titans, Henry got stopped for like a 2-yard gain, and the Ravens' defense was electrifying. The crowd was into it. And then all I kept thinking about all game was Earl Thomas saying that about the Patriots, and then Derrick Henry gave him the most disrespectful stiff arm. One kid is like the rare double stiff arm turnaround. Where'd I go? Not like stiff armed into the ground, but like stiff armed into I don't know where I'm walking.
But at the same time, he shouldn't have to make that tackle. The defensive line or the linebackers up at the front should make that for him. That's not his job.
I know.
That's not his job.
I mean, he probably said that thinking he probably wouldn't be in the open field too many times against him. But just to say that and not back it up is like a big hand up for an all-pro safety.
For sure.
But otherwise in this game, like Ryan Tannehill is like, you can lock him in for comeback player of the year. But it's like, that's what we get on these playoff game stats. And we talked about Joe Flacco. The last time the Patriots lost in the wild card round, Flacco had 34 passing yards and a pick. Now Tannehill, a little bit better than that, but he hasn't thrown for 100 yards in back-to-back playoff games. But a great story nonetheless for him, really redemption, and it's nice. It's like with everything in the NFL is saying, it's Sean McVay, it's the flashy offense with motions, it's high scoring, and now the star of the playoffs so far is a 250-pound running back just bruising people. But anyways, Zach, is it like, are you the one? From your words, it seems like you're pretty harsh on Lamar when, like, a lot of people, obviously there were Lamar haters out there that were like waiting for this game where he looks normal. That game is so frustrating because as a guy that bet on Baltimore just to win, actually, the 4th and inches is like everyone's getting on Harbaugh, and Scotty and I had this discussion at the book. The 2 4th and 1s, the way you run the ball, I wasn't surprised you went for it. I wanted the Ravens to go for it.
Yeah, it's on Roman and Harbaugh. It's not on the offense.
Well, it's on that.
I think you have the best kicker in the league.
Right.
So if you're in range and you're in the playoffs, you take the points, right? If you're in range, you have the best kicker in the league, you take the points. It doesn't matter how hot you're feeling. None of that matters. You take the points in the playoffs. If it's a regular season game and you're, whatever reason, sure, go for it. You're in the playoffs. This is all hands on deck. You have to make sure you win in advance, survive in advance, right? Jimmy Valvano. You have
R.I.P.
to take your points when you can get them. Exactly. So it's definitely more on. I mean, obviously the offensive line is left to be, you're left to be desired. Their performance. We are out our starting center. Yeah, sure, whatever. But 2 4th and shorts that are crucial. You take those. You got 6 points. That's an entirely different game.
Well, no, the one they were at midfield. The one they were at midfield and didn't get.
Right, but like if you get the first down, if you punt it away, you pin them deep. Sure, we got Sam Cook, great punter, right? It's like also contributes to the game being different.
Right. But here's my thing. My thing about
you got to put your faith.
It's like you didn't want Lamar throwing 59 times, obviously, right? You wanted the same formula you've been all season with the running game, correct? So,
but you can't have that same formula. You have to mix it up because Mark Ingram is injured, right? You can't play the same formula that you've had if the linchpin of that formula is injured, right? Whether he's playing or not, he's injured. So you need to mix it up, and that's on Roman for not, you're paid so much money. Like you need to be able to have a way to mix up the formula when one of your key players is injured, is not going to be able to be that anchor that he normally is. So you need to be able to have those, those backup plans for when that happens.
See, my whole thing was it was midway through the third quarter. It's 4th and inches. You go for it because, you do have time if you miss it. The problem was that amplified it was both times when the Ravens failed on 4th and inches, it led to the next play was a Titans touchdown on a deep ball, and then 2 plays after the second 4th and inches fail was Derrick Henry's long run where he got caught at the 5-yard line. But if Justin Tucker makes a field goal, which he would have, to make it 14-9, and then the Titans bust a big play on the next drive for a touchdown, and it's 21-9 instead of potentially 14-13 or tied 14-14.
Right.
Then Harbaugh's getting killed for not going for it. So I think when it comes down to it, Harbaugh's so confident, 8 for 8 in the regular season, 4th and 1, that the odds of him going over 2, I would honestly take it, and I don't know what Lamar Jackson was doing on 4th and inches.
A lot of this felt symptomatic of the Chiefs game. If you remember that, there was a lot of questionable, if they hadn't gone for the 4th down when they were in the red zone, if they had just taken their 3 points, later in the game, it would have felt different. A lot of this felt very similar to that Chiefs game that we lost. And it was a lot like that. And then if you compound it by, it's like losing to the Chiefs, but except the Chiefs have a good run game, so that amplifies the impact of the other team just hammering you.
Right. Yeah, it's just now the narrative's out. Now that's the problem that you're going to face next year, Zach, is I think the Ravens are going to be good. I would say they're going to win the division. Both coordinators are coming back. I think a lot of their offense is coming back too. But now what sucks for you is, I obviously don't care about it, but the Ravens are going to win.
Right.
They might bust an 8-game winning streak.
The defense is going to be the big question mark, I think.
Well, I'm just saying in general, the Ravens are going to win 8 straight at some point. They might. Maybe they do. They win 8 straight at one point, and everyone's going to be like, well, they got to prove it in the playoffs, which is fair in the same frame. But on the other hand, it's like, they're still going to be a good team. They're still dangerous. But now it's...
I would have much rather preferred us to be underdogs in the playoffs than come in like the 14-2 team that we were. And everyone like, oh, here we go, and then the 9-7 team comes and roasts our ass. Like, I prefer, like, that's what's been our identity ever since, at both the playoffs that the Super Bowls that we won. You think you got to play the Patriots or the other the 2000 one. Oh, you got to play the Broncos and John Elway and all that shit. Like I like flying under the radar and going in. Like, I don't like being the favorite. I'm sure most other teams feel the same way, unless they're a dynasty like the Patriots. I don't like going in being the favorite. It's an uncomfortable feeling.
Well, I mean, you got to win games in the regular season. So if you win enough games, you're not going to be the underdog in the playoffs. But I mean, we'll save that for next year. I mean, Lamar. I mean, he's out to his credit. I mean, he faced the music after the game, and he's a guy that seems. He's not the Baker type where, he sounds off on people and blames excuses.
Yeah, he's not a scapegoat.
Right, he's going to get...
That's what I do like about him.
Yeah, he's going to get in the lab, but if I'm you, I'm nervous about the lifespan of this offense, and in the NFL, I mean, I feel like the bad guy that wants to crap on Lamar Jackson.
It's definitely a win.
But it's
a win now culture for sure. It's a win now culture.
Go ask the Panthers how big of an opportunity they missed to get their ring when they could have got it. And that offense, world beaters. 15.
You lost to a 94-year-old quarterback. Yeah. And you got to go back and you look and you see like, oh, you had your chance. You couldn't beat great grandpa quarterback with an illegally restructured neck. He got Terminator restructured neck, and you couldn't stop him.
Are you the type of fan that's going to root for the Titans to win it all because that means you lost to the best team, or are you the type that wants vengeance and wants the Chiefs to blow their doors off?
Correct. Well, I love Patrick Mahomes. First and foremost, I love that a Big 12 quarterback was able to rise from the ashes of just a conference that has just have god-awful defense, and you can't see the forest through the trees on any offensive player in that conference because there's no defense whatsoever. So anybody can throw for 10,000 yards and 1 million touchdowns and come out and just be god-awful in the NFL. And meanwhile, he comes through. Andy Reid is able to, read the tea leaves and see, oh, this guy is for real, and he gets him, and he's the next freaking Tom Brady. He's amazing, and you can't help but root for him. I love Patrick Mahomes. I hope he gets 10,000 Super Bowls. I want to see him just succeed for the next million years. I don't care he's in the same conference as the Ravens. I'd love to see him do well. I hope we beat him in an AFC championship at some point, but at the same time, I'd love to see him succeed instead of Tom Brady. I love it.
Yeah, that would be cool. If Mahomes were to win another Super Bowl, that means 2 of the last 3 quarterbacks to win Super Bowls were like playing at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday nights, like throwing for 600 yards on ESPN 8 the Ocho with Nick Foles and Patrick Mahomes. like that's the feel-good story you can all get behind, as well as Tannehill. I'm rooting for the Titans. I really don't care. I really want a good game because, as we expected, the wild card round was full of great games that came down to the wire, and there was only one of those in the divisional round. Starting with the bad ones, we got the 49ers rolling over the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, clock struck midnight. He turned back into a big pumpkin game for him.
He shouldn't have beat the Saints.
Right.
And he did.
Well, it was a 1 o'clock start in New Orleans. Threw off his planner.
I mean, it's like if you start that early, if you have that kind of planner, you're going to win.
Right. And it really wasn't all on him, I think. I mean, he had no time to throw. The 49ers looked so back with D Ford coming back and Quan Alexander. That defense looked like the defense that, was shutting down people every week, like the first half of the season. Kirk Cousins, he threw a long touchdown to Diggs. That was really the only momentum the Vikings got. Total boring game. But good for Jimmy G, good for the 49ers, good for Shanahan. He's
how much of a slaughter fest is this 49ers Packers game gonna be at Levi's Stadium?
It makes it seems so, and we'll obviously get into this on Thursday to greater length, but it seems so easy to be like the 49ers beat them by 29 in the regular season. Like
Oh, I remember that game so vividly. I watched it with my dad, who is he's from La Crosse, Wisconsin, which for those of you who know, that's Packers country. Like there's
a lot of La Crosse,
no
Wisconsin guys on this podcast listening.
I know, right? But like he was so mad, like more mad than I have ever been at any Ravens regular season loss. Like it's just the 49ers, they're not even a division rival. Like he understood the importance of that game before we knew how important it was going to be. NFC Championship.
Yeah, Packers
game.
win that game this Sunday's in Lambeau.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And it's almost like his cheesehead, like cerebral, foreshadowing, future-seeing brain knew that the importance of that game at the time, because he was like more mad than like regular. Oh, Packers lost to the Lions. Oh, Packers lost to the Bears. Oh, Packers lost to the Vikings. Like no, he was like more mad than a divisional loss game, and I didn't understand it at the time. And you're a Packers fan for that long. Like you live like pre-Brett Favre years. You live through that, and you see like what it's like to be a Packers fan. Like you were born after the the years of like Packers were like elite, like the first year of the Super Bowl. Those first years you live through that, and then you go on to like see the Packers after that, and then like you're in college and stuff like at the beginning of the Favre years, and then you live through like the dip after that. Like what suffering, the peaks and the valleys of what it's like to be a Packers fan, and you get like a sixth sense for how important football.
Yeah, I mean, I've never kind of felt bad for Packers fans going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. But back to 49ers Vikings. This game, I mean, I kind of with the Vikings is like, is this? It makes me wonder if this is the ceiling for Minnesota. Like with Kirk Cousins, you don't ever think he's going to have confetti pouring down him. Like maybe you get in the playoffs as a wild card. Maybe you win a division. Maybe you win one playoff game. I never think Cousins is going to lead them to home field throughout the playoffs. Dalvin Cook's great, but he faced a defense that absolutely shut him down. I think he had less than 20 total yards rushing in. He had 6 catches for 8 yards. Kirk Cousins, great.
Let me say this right now. If Kirk Cousins on any team wins a conference championship, I will suck my own ass. Like, he is not that type of quarterback. He is not that type of NFL player. You don't get that far if you have color-coded schedules, you fucking bitch ass.
Well, I was thinking is like, well, could Cousins do what Tannehill did if Dalvin Cook were to ever, mimic Derrick Henry? Because, I mean,
no, because he's like 10 times more fragile than Derrick Henry. So it's not going to happen.
Because like I said to start, I was like, Cousins his offensive line gave him no favors. Like Joey Bosa I think it's Nick Bosa, lived in that backfield all game.
Yeah.
The crowd was unruly. The 49ers made the Vikings defense look overrated like it's been all season. That's why they were a wild card.
Yeah. Nick Bosa is just Joey Bosa, but not Dalvin Cook
have
fragile.
A shark nose like his older brother does with the Chargers. You look at their noses are right angles. And he was taking right angles to Cousins all game. But, like, for the Vikings, it's like you have 2 very talented receivers, one on each side, a pretty good tight end in Kyle Rudolph, and one of the best running backs in the NFL. And it's pretty sad that I think, and probably a lot of other people, that the divisional round's probably your ceiling. So
Yeah.
tough spot for the Vikings. They did get they good for them. They had their 1 week of glory. Cousins won his first playoff game, upset New Orleans.
Yeah, and they saved Mike Zimmer gets to keep his job for another few years. Yeah, that's the difference between Mike Zimmer and Jason Garrett is that you have Kirk Cousins and not Dak Prescott.
Now onto a game that was big time drunk. AFC South was almost gonna play a color rush AFC title game in Houston. That's how crazy it was. Chiefs 51-31 over the Texans. Like, what the hell? Like, our pets' heads are falling off type deal. Like,
we don't have enough time on this podcast without Scotty to address all the shit that happened in this game.
Right. And it was like, what? We'll tell you about a guy we met at the sports book. But yeah, Texans jump out to 24-0 lead. Obviously, the Chiefs 40-something unanswered. But the thing, like, just how, Bill O'Brien, and for some reason with coaching decisions, I always try to back up the coaches because it's so easy to get on Twitter and be like, why are you doing, like, this is all Bill O'Brien's fault. When Romeo Crennel, one of the most coveted defensive coaches in the NFL, his team gave up 51 points in 3 quarters.
It's always so alluring to shit on a former Browns any kind of
that's a fact. Good point,
staff.
Zach.
Yeah, it's so easy to do that, but at the same time, it's like Bill O'Brien decided to go for it on 4th and 4 when he's up 24-7.
The fake punt. See, yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it if you get it, but you were so inept to not get it that now it's on you. Like you have the sort of cliche of like, oh, if this coach gets it, then everyone touts him as a savant.
Same with Harbaugh.
But if he doesn't get it, then everyone's second guessing him for the next month or whatever. But like at the same time, it's like that's a cliche, but also it's like you should have got it. You're up 24-7 on one of the greatest AFC teams that we've seen in a long time. It's like their defense is so sus. It's almost as sus as the entire Seahawks team. Like, come on. Like, you can't get 4 yards.
My thing is that he went for that fake punt, and I loved that call because what do we even know? Like, it could be one of those things. I know the Steelers faked a punt against the Cardinals earlier this year, and it was like they were up 23-10 with 6 minutes left. They faked a punt, didn't get it, and everyone's like, what are you doing? It's like it's the punter audibled into it. So who knows if that was the case, but he had a clear lane to get it. A great tackle was made. He fell a yard short. My problem with Bill O'Brien was that they were up 21-0 and had 4th and 1 in the red zone and decided to kick the field goal. That's taking a 3-possession game and making it a 3-possession game.
Highly questionable when you have Deshaun Watson. Like, roll. Like, I'm going to go with. It's like, I don't want to relay what Skip Bayless and, Shannon Sharp has said, but, like, roll right. Just take Deshaun Watson and roll right and take your chances. This is going to be better than a freaking field goal. Like, you change the entire momentum of the game in Arrowhead. If you roll right, you get the first down.
Yeah.
You totally fuck up their momentum, and then you go for it, and you get a touchdown. Like, it changes the whole scheme of the game. Like, if you're 28-0 and 24-0 is an entirely different score. It's only 4 points, but psychologically, that's a whole different ballgame.
And that's what I think the psychological impact came on that fake punt, because it's 24-7 and the Chiefs just got to stop on 3rd down. So they're going to punt the ball back to the Chiefs. So it's like if the Chiefs get that punt fair catch at the 30, they have to go 70 yards for a touchdown, whatever. So if you punt it to them, fair catch or whatever, they have probably 65% of the momentum. If you fake the punt and miss it, they have 95. And that 5% is because they're still losing, but they have 95. So you're taking the risk on that 4 yards to surprise the Chiefs, who are coming off the field. They're all emotional, and you're trying to pop that momentum balloon before it starts. So that's why I didn't mind the fake punt. But like you said, it's one of those coaching things that if you get it, you're a hero. If you don't, you're the scapegoat. It's like, where would Sean Payton's career be if that onside kick was recovered by the Colts?
Right.
So yeah, it's what you signed up for.
It's what separates the boys from the men, and you gotta make the right call, and that's what separates you from the O'Briens from the Belichicks, essentially. Like, that's the difference between one playoff win versus a bunch of playoff wins and Super Bowl appearances. Like, you have to be able to make the right call in the moment.
But I felt so bad for Bill O'Brien's, like that Chiefs comeback. They're just showing Andy Reid.
Definitely fit, yeah.
Just showing Andy Reid, and he's calling plays, and it's like every single play he dialed up worked. You saw Bill O'Brien, and it's like he wanted to disappear. His chin was all like shriveled up. You couldn't.
Eric Bieniemy was out there calling plays at that point.
Yes.
And he was like, everyone's like, Eric Bieniemy, he doesn't call plays, and at that point he's calling plays. They're throwing dimes left and right. You look like a fucking bitch ass.
Yeah, when Bill O'Brien when his chin swells up and it doesn't look as prominent, that's when you know the Texans are in trouble. And it was like that, like right after the fake punt. Bill O'Brien wanted.
Yeah, it's like Puxatawny Phil. He comes out. He's like, "Oh, we have 6 more weeks of winter, or are we going into spring?"
Well,
you look at his chin, and you can see
Houston has 6 more months of the offseason. Last game, the only good game, divisional weekend. Oh, I forgot to mention the sportsbook guy. So Scotty and I were at Lawrenceburg. It's so fun. It's also dangerous because Scotty and I made. Scotty and I were making as soon as like a game starts, you can just go over to a machine and bet more. It's like you don't have to log into stuff. So like we were like going, it was like out of our seat, go back to like try to get a second half edge or something. In hindsight, I think a lot of people probably thought about like, oh, the Chiefs can't lose, like maybe not come back and win per se, but come back and cover a live spread or something. But
right.
So it is very dangerous. But we were told, this guy at the bar we were sitting with. So Scotty and I sitting together. Next to us was this guy, another guy named Brian, and then his friend had just left. He had a full plate of wings. He maybe ate one, and then he was gone. And the bartender was just like, "Where did he go?" He's like, "He had to go to the car. He was in a bad place." And he told us that he put $1,000 on the Texans minus 10 points when they were up 24-0. Then the Chiefs scored.
Yikes.
Then the Chiefs scored. He put another 1,000 on the Texans minus 7. And then when the Chiefs made it 24-14, he put another $1,000 on the Texans just to win outright. So
this is why I don't make live bets. I'm not a fan of live bets. I made my first live bet. I mean, we'll get into this
Zach,
later
that
when we
was
start talking
stupid.
about the national championship. Yeah,
that was stupid.
Tough. It was dumb. And I will say this for this gentleman that I don't even know. He wasn't even there by the time I got to you guys. Don't make live bets unless you're, what's his face, loudmouth from Barstool. Don't make live bets. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. But okay, so the live bet that Zach made. And the thing with live betting is it's usually in the NFL is that you go against what already happened. So that's where that guy, obviously, he wasn't going against what happened.
Mm-hmm. He
sat there while the Chiefs made a ferocious comeback. And so the Packers were up, I think, like 17-3 at halftime or something. 20-3, I don't know. But Zach, live bullets,
minus 19. Minus 19. Like a fucking idiot. That's what I went with.
Yeah, so rarely does a team just, blow out another team in the playoffs. If they're up 14-0, they go on to win 40-0. The only team that kind of did that was the Titans, honestly. Even though the Ravens, had plenty of chances to score all those drives into Titans territory. But anyway, that game just came down to, I think Russell Wilson, great quarterback, and, let down. He was a one-man show. He had no running backs. Marshawn Lynch had barely any yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. Jacob Hollister dropped a pass. Jacob Hollister got away with a fumble. We're talking about that first down spot with Jimmy Graham, and Jacob Hollister completely fumbled away a catch in the first quarter, but Wilson just ran out of time. And that's my least favorite way to end a game. My least favorite by far is when it's close and the other team needs a first down to ice it. I pray for the other team to make a stop. And when that doesn't happen, and the other team, and like the Packers in this case, just got to take knees, that's a sucky way to end the game on a first down.
Yeah, you don't like that in the playoffs, especially if it's not your team. And I'm there to so I've never made this a secret before. My dad's from Wisconsin. The Packers are my NFC team through and through, but at the same time, I wanted this to be a more interesting game. I wanted it to go in overtime. I want all the smoke, and I want Aaron Rodgers especially to be able to earn it with grit and power and strength. At the same time, like, you win the game because the refs get a favorable spot to Jimmy Graham, like, regardless if you thought if the yellow line was deep or not.
I thought it was first down.
Yeah, I think it's a first down too, but at the same time, like, you don't want to win a game that way. You don't want to win a game because you don't want there to be any gray area. Like, you don't want to win by 1,000 points because it's like, oh, like, our team just choked and we didn't give our best performance. Like, you want both teams to give their best performance, but you want your team to, like, come out in front with their best performance.
Like, that game would have been a million times better if it came down to an all-or-nothing Russell Wilson Hail Mary.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
You want him throwing, a freaking 47-yarder to Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, do like some crazy pass to either the vet that's been there forever or the brand new up-and-comer rookie. You want him catching some crazy tiptoe. They have to review it because it's a scoring play touchdown pass.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers kind of back. I mean.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams combo, like,
Jimmy
back,
Graham.
like, yeah, and Aaron Rodgers has had nobody except for Devontae Adams, really, like Lazard, like, garbage, like, all the other, like, I drove 8.5 hours to Lambeau Field to watch them play in that questionable win against the Lions. Like, the wide receivers are definitely, like, totally suspect, like, the worst 13-3 team I've ever seen in my life make it to the playoffs, and they get there because Devontae Adams is an absolute dog, and Jimmy Graham came up big when they needed him to.
And now this is where my brain goes, like, oh, the Packers are kind of back, and then I forget how good the 49ers defense is back. Like, all their weapons are back on defense. They had no injuries against the Vikings at all. And Aaron Rodgers, terrible on the West Coast.
So scared for Aaron Rodgers, and everybody's going to be retweeting that video of they're not going to be as sorry as they were as not drafting me. Like, yeah, we get it. You're from California. You played at Cal. You wanted to play for a West Coast team. You didn't. You ended up in Cheeseland, where the players don't, like, the visiting players don't even stay in hotels in the city where the stadium is. Like, yeah, like, you can, like, my uncle could see the G on Lambeau Field from the yard that he grew up in. It's a dog shit town to play football in, but at the same time, like, the people who live there own the team that they play for. Like, you're the people's champ. Like, you're John Cena. Like, you need to just embrace that and don't be such a bitch and, like, win a bunch of championships for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and now it's like, Rodgers won Super Bowl, Favre won Super Bowl. He might have the same exact legacy. I'm scared for Sunday night, but I mean, look at what they've done on the West Coast this year. The 49ers got killed. They went to the Chargers. The Chargers killed them by double digits. So I'm nervous for A-Rod.
If the Chargers, if Chargers can beat them, anybody can beat them. Like, the Ravens beat them only by 3. Sure, fine, whatever. But, like, you have no excuses if you lose. And that's the thing. Like, they have a solid defense, but they have a sus offense. They have, arguably, like, 1A or 1B tight end in the league. But, like, you have no excuses if you lose to them. Like, the 49ers are a definitely beatable team with a questionable quarterback, like, a questionable receiver core, a solid tight end, and a defense that's solid.
All right, Doghouse of the Week. We'll have just a few segments trying to make the show a little bit shorter since we're recording a little bit late. Doghouse of the Week, Zach, do you want to start?
Oh, of course. And my Doghouse is it's going to be LSU special teams not going for a field goal so that we can get even 1 more point or 2 more points or 3 more points.
For the over?
Yeah, so my over can hit. Because I have the over of 68. And the total, as I'm sure all of you know by now, was 67. As all of you know by now, we were at a Lawrenceburg casino. And I bought points. I took LSU minus 12.5.
No, you gave away points. You gave away points.
That's
you
correct.
Didn't buy any points. Yeah.
Correct. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I gave away points to get them to 12.5. They won plus, they're minus 17.
Yeah.
Which was great. But the total was 67. Like, you couldn't get one more point to get me to win almost 3 units? Like, so infuriating. And I'm over it.
Zach, I think you might be in the doghouse because I put in the chat after the first 3 punts of the game, I said live over-unders 59.5. Hammer that over.
I was asleep by then.
Okay, well.
So it's me in the doghouse still, because I was asleep by then.
Right.
Because I went to sleep and was unable to take advantage of that via online betting sources. But at the same time, 1 point!
Well, maybe next time you think, okay, I'm giving away points on this spread. I'll buy a few points of my own for the over, for the total.
My fault was giving away that many points and going with the over.
Uh-huh.
I should have given away all those points and went with the under, because that's what any reasonable person would have done. And if I would have done that, I would have won 3 units. But instead, I didn't. Dumbass choice on my part. Rookie mistake. I live with, I live with my mistakes.
Well, while we're on Bad Beat Monday, Scotty and I had a bad one with Houston. Not even with the spread. What was we teased? Plus, I had him plus 17 in a teaser. Scotty had him plus 16 and plus 16.5. Houston down 20. Last-ditch drive. First and goal from the 7. Scotty says we were interlocking arms like we were an NCAA tournament bench. And Scotty's like, all right, let's unlock arms right before the first and goal play. And 4 straight incompletions. Duke Johnson, forever doghouse, because everything else would ended up hitting besides Houston. Dropping first and goal from the 7, had a touchdown right at the pylon. Pylon cam zoomed in on it, and it was even worse to look at. So that sucked. Otherwise, Bad Beat Monday was pretty decent for me, honestly. The Ravens weren't even a bad beat. They just got blown out. So my doghouse, Skyline Chili, and that's because they didn't get a ringing endorsement from the Bengals' next quarterback, Joe Burrow, a tweet resurfacing. His old tweets, could be
the heir apparent.
Yeah,
the heir apparent.
So his old tweets, hopefully that's the worst one, but it's for Cincinnati natives, that's like saying I hate Ohio, or he could have just said what would have been worse is if he tweeted in 2016 I hate the Bengals, Mike Brown's cheap, screw that organization. That would have been better than Skyline is trash, which is what his tweet said. So
it's not encouraging. But I tell you what, you guys have the most fire gif that any NFL team could have for the next 5 years, which is him sitting on that couch, sprawled out, puffing on that cigar.
I'm
that
gonna order
gif.
the T-shirt's already for sale.
You're gonna get mileage out of that gif. It's gonna give you the lifeblood that you need. You guys are 10,000 notches above the Browns just with that gift that he has gifted to the city of Cincinnati. If you guys don't trade it out of the pick. That's my biggest concern for Cincinnati is if you guys are dumb enough to trade out of the pick. You have so much momentum. Regardless of if he's going to be the future of Cincinnati or not, you have to take him whether you go 2-14 the next season or 0-16 the next season with him or not. You have to take him just based on the momentum of that GIF alone. That's the power of the internet in this day and age.
That GIF is the 2001 Toyota Camry of GIFs. So that'll be anytime he throws a 5-yard out, you can post that GIF. Another doghouse for me. First off, Mike Vrabel, his manhood's on the line because he said he would cut off his manhood if it meant the Titans win a Super Bowl, and that's getting dangerously close now. That's time where you gonna welch on your bet. So that's tough. Another doghouse was, I think it was us for not doing the you guys didn't do the pick'ems. So
yeah.
So
whoops.
Tough look there.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, so I think you're still in the lead. I forget. We'll have to go back and record, see what the stakes were for the extended
doghouse.
And then
okay, so I needed to hit this real quick. So doghouse.
I'm sure it won't be quick.
It will be because we'll address the back half of it at a stand of the week. Doghouse of the week. I took some money lines on college basketball that were borderline questionable. First one that's like majorly questionable would be Ole Miss money line against Florida. They lost 55-71. Okay, that's definitely very, very questionable. The other
Wyoming.
one, yeah, the Wyoming one is the one that's a little bit less questionable. So Wyoming I put just a little bit of money on, like $15 on Wyoming to beat Nevada, and they just lost 67-68. So I'm very much spirit broken because the coming into the game 5-13 Wyoming against 10-7 Nevada, I was like, oh, this is a great plus 500 more than that underdog. Like, yeah, go for it. And we'll get into, once we get into stand of the week, we'll get into my brazen college basketball bettingness. But at the same time, I'm very much my spirit has been broken because Wyoming has lost by 1 point, and I would have won a lot of money if they had won.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's like you're going back to your roots now.
Yep.
Another one, Doghouse of the Week, is me because I restarted keto today. And so the first rule of keto is you have to mention it to everyone you meet that you're on keto so people know.
Big mistake.
Yeah, you don't lose weight unless everyone knows that you're on keto. And so my energy level just terrible today. Basically like no carbs. So just no energy, and it's really expensive actually. It's like you drink this thing called Keto Flow. It puts you in ketosis, and in layman's terms, ketosis is where your body
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, your body generates energy through fat by burning fat because it has no carbs to do it. And no one tells you about the keto flu, which is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can look it up, that you're just drained by like 5 o'clock. I had to get Starbucks to get a coffee. So I'm back to drinking butter in my coffee, eating beef jerky all the time, cheese, eggs, and sausage for breakfast, and just feeling like absolute crap by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's just, I have to remind people every episode now that I'm on keto, or else you have to be annoying about it. It's just one of those things. Hashtag keto to cruise. Shelby, keto to cruise, January through July, and I do get an off day every Sunday. I get to.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, you have to. So I can't have a lot of Zach's cooking, which is fire all the time.
But greasy.
But greasy's not a problem. I can do a bacon cheeseburger, no bun. You know what I mean? But yeah, so Doghouse, me, stand of the week time.
Stand of the week. I have two, sort of 1A and 1B. So I'm going to start with my lesser 1B, which is the Clemson Tigers. I had a dope-ass parlay, which was Clemson minus 5.5. And I had the under 67.5. So this is my redemption from my Doghouse. I got it, man. I freaking got it. I won. I'm not going to, we don't name numbers on here. 3 units. Great freaking win. Happy. My biggest stand of the week, which is my heavily 1 capital A, is going to be, and this is a team most of you haven't heard about, is going to be the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Okay? They were 0-14 coming into their game against Alabama A&M.
Quick, Zach. Zach, who went to Mississippi Valley State?
No idea. Couldn't tell you. No, 0 people that have ever gone there or ever will go there. Couldn't tell you.
Little guy named Jerry Rice.
Cool. Didn't know that. I went through,
All right.
In this particular date, I went through, I saw who is the biggest money line, what money line is going to win me the best return. And then I saw Mississippi Valley State against Alabama A&M. I said, oh, that's cool. And then I did some research on them. Most of their wins have been less than 20 points. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to drop some money on them. I dropped $15 to win more than that. I shouldn't even said $15, but or $50 to win more than that. I'll let everyone else do the math on that. 3 units. Fantastic. They got their first win of the season. They're now 1-14. I feel obligated to go out and buy some type of merch from their college store, which I'm sure I'm going to have to, I don't think they have a website, so I'm going to have to call up and wire transfer them some money
so
because I don't
Zach.
think they have the internet in that
Obviously,
area of Mississippi
Wyoming
yet.
kind of would have been a nice addition to it, but good for you. My obvious it was Scotty, and that's James Halshauer, the Jeopardy guy, Halser, whatever. He's the sports betting pro that was on the Jeopardy GOAT competition, and he didn't win. Ken Jennings, the GOAT, he won it all tonight. It was live.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But his tweets this during Jeopardy GOAT were like undefeated. So he was really giving it to the third contestant, not Ken Jennings because he was killing the whole time, but to Brad. I'm blanking on Brad's last name. But anyway, throughout the Sunday, he was saying he tweeted the Chiefs and Texans game, and it's Brad Rutter, and so Brad Rutter was like the worst of the best of the GOAT on Jeopardy, and so he tweeted Chiefs dropping passes like Brad Rutter drops daily doubles, and he tweeted So he tweeted a bunch of fire memes about Ken Jennings dominating. He said, "My wife's gonna make me role play as Ken Jennings tonight." So like the most nerdy guy on there, skinny little runt, is the absolute funny. So
like Sega from PMT, like don't be afraid to fade yourself.
Right. So yeah, it was actually it's a Brad Rutter daily double. He also did the distracted boyfriend meme where it's a picture of the distracted boyfriend with the face of a daily double. It's looking at Ken Jennings instead of him. So yeah, that was very good TV, and James Halser's Twitter account made it even better. So good for him. All right, short show. So we're going Twitter trend is our last segment, and Zach, it's about the giant tortoise, and this giant tortoise is returning to the Galapagos Islands. And he did his part, let's just say that. So this giant tortoise was the father of 800 offspring, and he's retiring from banging all these turtles to save his species.
It's the Evander Holyfield of tortoises.
Yeah, so this guy, Antonio Cromartie of tortoises, this 100-year-old, his name's Diego. So Diego bangs a lot. I'm giving him that last name. He's returning to his original habitat at Espanola Island after fathering 800 offspring, helping his species go from a critical state of 15 to 2,000 specimens. So this guy pulled up his sleeves, stuck that neck out, and just went to work. This guy grinded. I mean, this guy's up there. Comeback player of the year. I think he's obviously comeback player of the year since he made an entire species. Like if there was a T-Rex of him back in the day, like we'd be living in like Jurassic World wouldn't be a movie. It'd be like Jurassic World would be Wednesday afternoon.
If turtles didn't bang so slowly, this would be an Oscar winner movie for sure.
Yeah. So New York Times quote: "Without a doubt, Diego had some characteristics that made him special." Yeah, you think? He just rubbernecked his way into like Turtle Hall of Fame, I mean, this guy, 2020 is already like Times Person of the Year is like forget anything about climate change. Yeah, it's just gonna be Diego like getting fan. Like he should get the treatment of the Kentucky Derby winners that go into, I forget the name for it, when they go into like it's like pretty much retirement. They get fanned. Every day they eat off silver platters. Like this guy should have like a maid service that like, it gives him like a motorized scooter that someone else controls. He should get like fed grapes off the vine. I mean, this guy is everything every guy in America has wanted to be for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, they need to do genetic testing to make sure that like this turtle can solve ED for every aging male in the
Yeah, and if you
world,
see a picture of him, I
developing
mean,
world.
his neck looks like the the male genitalia. So I mean, fathering 800 babies. I mean, this guy. I mean, I don't want to see the child support bill for like what a turtle needs to survive. But now, I mean, the Galapagos Islands is going to be full of turtles like trying to cross roads in like 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So good for him and good for us.
Yeah, if you know the Galapagos Islands, they no longer have a finch problem, they have a turtle problem.
Yeah, so now there's going to be like the next person is going to be the guy that solves the wild boar problem in Texas, where you can legally hunt them out of a helicopter. So until we get that guy, person of the year for 2020, and like he's already has a pretty good head start on like decade guy
Correct.
of the year. So hopefully he's around for a long time, and hopefully you stuck with us throughout this episode. So for Zach, for me, for Scotty who's absent, but we'll be back on Thursday when we do our boardwalk. We do our hopefully some pick'em. We'll discuss the championship games. We'll see you then.
Mwah, mwah. Go Delta Devils.
Starts bitching about my friends. About to go and damn near went blind. Young niggas on the path throwing up gang signs. I went in the house to get the clip with my Mac 10 on the side of my head. I bailed outside and I pointed my weapon. Just as I thought, the fools kept stepping. I jumped in the flow, hit the juice of my ride. I got front and back, side to side. Then I let the Alpine play. I was pumping new shit by NWA. It was gangsta gangster at the top of the list. Then I played my own shit. It went something like this. Cruising down the street in my 6'4", jocking the bitches, slapping the hoes. I went to the park to get the scoop.